go on Facebook and share it, obviously.
Okay, I will
But now
do
we're
it.
live on your YouTube.
YouTube.
And
Goodness,
we're on LinkedIn and Twitter and
we're on all the
Facebook.
things.
All the things that you need to be live on. Hi, everyone. Happy Monday. We are here. I'm here with Stacey Andon, who is the reason why we're even doing this. So, because she was the idea, the brainchild. Is that the right thing?
Ooh,
No,
I
this
like
is the
that. I'll be a
brainchild. You're the
brainchild.
brain behind this. And so I wanted to have you on as the first person. So Stacey, introduce yourself. We go way back. My talk show. We go way back to when I lived in Maryland.
Long time ago in a land far, far away.
Yes.
Yes, when Richard was absolutely just sharing all his magic through fashion, and we just had a connection. A couple of our other friends, it was like all of a sudden, boom, we all had this beautiful connection with each other. It was amazing. I don't know if you could recreate that even if you wanted to, but it was just like perfect timing for all of us. We were all starting and working on our businesses, and we just like easily fell into these beautiful friendships with each other that has just, to me, expanded over the years of like us working together, doing all sorts of creative projects and all of that, and just also being really amazing friends, which I want to call out because I think sometimes people get nervous about working with their friends. I love working with people that I love. It just absolutely, the energy of that just feeds into the projects, into whatever it is we're doing. But yes, I am a master certified life and business coach. Really, I call myself kind of this intuitive mentor these days because I feel like I have like two things that I'm here to help the planet with. One is really just always coming back to love. Like what feels like love? What does love want to guide us to do in this moment? Like messy love and being in that. And then the other piece of it is, if you're going to really be in that, it's like breaking all the conventions and all the boxes and all the things that we thought we were supposed to do in order to really have this kind of love life that like you wake up and you feel like you won the love lottery. Like I want everybody on the planet to feel that way, and we have to break some stuff in order to do that.
But when you work with you do feel like you, what's that?
I said, that's the podcast, that's the coaching, that's the stuff I do.
That's Stacey in a nutshell, really. And you do feel like you're completely embraced by love when you're around here, which is fun. And so that's what attracts people to you, I think.
Yeah, people always say I feel like I feel like a warm hug to them. So like, come swim in my energy. I have lots of it, and you can borrow and be inspired and get your own ideas. You don't have to do it like me, which is the best part. I'm not telling people, hey, do it this way. I'm saying, hey, you already know the way. Clear out, unlearn, undo all the things around you that have kind of interfered or distracted us from that, and really get back to that. And it's like, woo, fireworks for people when they kind of hook back in.
Yeah. It's Stacey and I have been working for a couple months now together on I've been working on her business, and now she's helping me work on mine, on Make Your Day Richer. And the things, she's one of those people where like she knows the answer and she knows you know the answer, and so we just have to get the two lined up to be like, oh yeah, yes, I do know the answer. And I feel like I've grown in just the few months that we've been working together on this project.
You know what I think? I think a lot of people think they don't know. I hear that all the time. And not that there's anything wrong with just saying I don't know. I think that that's kind of like our default. It's like, oh, I don't really know. I actually believe with almost 100% certainty that we all know. We might not know the whole plan or all the whatever out there, the strategy, but today we know what we want in this moment. Can we be truthful enough with ourselves? Because sometimes that's uncomfortable. And I think that's where, again, a project like my podcast grows, projects like your business grows, when we can be willing to be truthful about what it is we want to create, what we want, even if it doesn't conform to whatever standards or expectations or what everybody else is doing. It's like, can I really do it this way? Even if the world is like off here doing it this other way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I wanted to start the one-on-one series. That's what I'm calling this.
Ooh, I like it.
It's to talk to people I have worked with, am working with, might work with, about what it's like for their businesses as small businesses, where I think sometimes you think you have to do it all by yourself, and the importance of not just bringing me on to do this kind of stuff, but bringing other people on to help with different things. So
Yeah.
when did you start your business, and when did you realize, like, I need help?
Yeah. Gosh, I've been doing this since 2015.
Wow.
Next year's gonna be 10, baby, and we're gonna have a
Wow.
big party. And it's interesting because I think when you start out as an entrepreneur, not everybody, but I mean, at least in my experience, is you think because you don't have that much money, right? Unless you have some fairy godmother giving you a big grant, you're trying to do as much yourself as possible. And I think what happens, and I found this to be the case when I used to lead a in-person mastermind, which I know you know, it was called Map Makers. And
I
one of the
created the
things
video for it. No big deal.
you did, and it was
I should have
amazing.
put that up here. See, if I was a better
Totally.
producer, I would have had it. We would have rolled it
That's
in.
okay. You can run that
All
again.
right, I'll do it
You
again.
can run that
I'll
again.
put it in the comments.
Yeah, totally. Anyway, one of the things that we worked on as a group was just because you can doesn't mean you should. And I
Mm.
think when, again, I always, and it's one of the reasons why I love working with you, is you get what I'm trying to do and you help me get it out in an easier fashion. Cause that's also my big jam is like, how do we make things easier, not more complicated? And I think sometimes, again, as younger entrepreneurs, and I mean younger in our business, we get up all in our head about what we think and what everybody else is going to think. And then we don't really do a lot, or we do a lot of kind of busy work.
Mhm.
So to me, it's kind of, you get to that place where you're like, I really want to put this out and I am in my own way.
Yeah.
That's where I was like, I need help because I am getting in my own way. And so to me, it's like, it's not my area of superpower magic to know and master all the tech. Yes, I do. I know some technology. Of course I do. However, I want to pair my kind of brilliance with somebody else's brilliance so that they get to shine doing what they love. And it's like mutually, right? Everybody benefits from that. And I have found everybody that I work with in my business and I've worked with over the years, it's like, I want a connection. People that I've hired that don't get me, they don't get what I'm doing. They're trying to be like, here's the formula for success. It doesn't
Mm.
work for me because I'm like, I remember one time, I don't know if it was somebody I was hiring or a coach, maybe, who knows, that was like, what coach do you want to be? Tell me, I'm going to go out and research. I'm like, I don't want to be some other coach. I want to be Stacey, and I won't put the expletive in there, but that's what I said. Andon. I was like, that's what I want. And so it's hard sometimes to find people that really get that because they
Mhm.
are also in kind of this like, oh, I do this with a client, I do this with a client, I do that. So I find the people that work best, and again, this is why you and one of your superpowers is allowing me to be me and not trying to change me in order to get out what I want. So I get to be myself and feel really authentic, and then also get guidance and structure from you because there is that piece, but it never feels like you're trying to bump up against like
Mm.
who I am. And I think a lot of people who are working with entrepreneurs miss that.
Mhm. Yeah,
First of
because
all,
there's such a sense of like, well, you, especially in like social media world, where it's like, well, you have to post 16 times a day, and it has to be this, and it has to be landscape, and it had like,
yes.
there's
And you
no
need a
room for
fancy, I mean, here's
individuality.
the other
Yeah.
thing. You need a fancy microphone. You need 20 lights. I remember everybody I knew was getting like the ring and all the lighting.
Mhm.
And I was like, you know what? I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm just gonna just not. And you were like, do it, Stace. Here, I'll help you get what you have. Here's the beautiful thing. You were like, let me help you with what you already have. So you don't have to spend a ton of money. And then I'll help you kind of, graduate into some other things along the way. And I think that that's part of what I've learned by doing multiple seasons now of this podcast. First of all, as you know, it took a couple years for me to kind of completely birth it from the
Yeah.
idea of it. And I started actually with somebody else who, again, was wonderful. Nothing against this person, but it wasn't a good fit for me. I needed to be with you where you were like, okay, we're going to strip it down. Here, we're going to get started. I'm going to honor what you want, but I'm also going to give you ideas, right? So that we're
Mhm.
thinking about things that you're not necessarily thinking about. You bring your expertise, I brought my expertise, and we created this beautiful thing. And what I'm finding is, as it's evolving, is this idea that, again, I'm evolving, right? All my experience is evolving, yours is evolving, and then we just get to even. It's like, I don't know, like as you get into a relationship with somebody, there's so much fun in the honeymoon stage, but then there's also this beautiful wisdom and insight that you continue to get as you go deeper and further into like your layers of creativity together. I don't know. That's my feeling about that.
Well, what's fun about working with you is that you're always open to ideas.
I
You
love it.
don't, yeah, and you don't, but you also have your own vision of what, but there are certain things that you're like, this is what I need it to look like, but I don't know how to get there, which is why
Yes.
you bring someone else
That's why
on.
I need you. That's why I
Yeah.
need anybody. I'm like, I know what I want, but I have no idea the A to B. And I think that's a really good point. It's like I can I have tried and suffered along the way in different places to try to make things happen for myself. But I just find, where can we hit the easy button? And working with people you love that really, again, bring that energy. It's like, to me, it has been the best thing for me in my business.
When I think from like the business owner standpoint, you're not in the business of running social medias and building websites and having a podcast, but they're all things that you need for your business and that you like
Yes,
to do. So you, if you spent all of your time doing those things, you wouldn't have time for clients.
exactly.
So you need to
Exactly.
make that space for
There
people.
was something, I think Danielle Laporte, who is a Canadian kind of spiritual voice in the world, I read somewhere because I remember bringing it into my mastermind years ago. She talked about this idea of like, and just this is just like arbitrary. There's no rhyme or reason to this, but there's like a $10 task, $100 task, and $1,000 task in your business, right? The $10 tasks are things that anybody could do for you, right? But then the $100, okay, that's a little bit more complex or nuanced. But the $1,000 or million, whatever number you want to put, is like the thing only you can do, right?
Mm,
The thing, and we get as entrepreneurs so wrapped up in all the $10 things. It's like what
mhm.
color for the website, and you can really distract yourself from putting yourself out there. I think being more visible, making more offers, saying, hey, this is what I'm doing in the world. It's very easy to get kind of stuck or, again, distracted by all these things that are like, they're $10. They don't really mean that much. Get it out there. Let the world see your $1,000 million magic. And that's what's going to be most important.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
want to jump to the podcast for a little bit,
Okay.
because that's really where I help you.
Mhm.
And so my question beginning for the podcast is what, since it's so different from your job and what people hire you to do, what do you love about it? And
Oh,
why did you want to do it?
so I am a storyteller. I have lots of life experiences, and I love to share info, like, my own wisdom, or just have conversations. I mean, this is why I kind of started with this idea of like, I wanted to have my podcast have like little bits of like, if you had a life coach in your pocket,
Mhm.
right? You could carry around this life coach on different topics and get some wisdom, get some ideas. Again, not how I do it, but just it kind of catapults your own expertise and knowing inside of you by listening. And I wanted it to be done. Again, I didn't want to have people listen for 3 hours. I don't want to listen to a 3 hour podcast. And there's some podcasts out there I like, but if I got to listen for 3 hours, it's like
Yeah.
usually I fade fast, and I definitely don't usually sit for or in a sitting for 3 hours. So I like this idea of like 15, 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes where you can really get something. And again, not 20 things, one thing that's going to help you in your life right now, whether you're feeling despair, whether you're wanting to take a leap of faith, whatever it is that you're kind of contemplating, there's something there. So I love telling stories, and I love being in front of the camera, which is funny because most people are like, oh, but I'm I'm a writer, I'm a speaker, I'm a coach, like I'm multifaceted. So this is part of my own creative outlet. And then all the interviews that I do, again, everybody always says to me, what are the questions? I go, there are no questions. There's a theme or a topic, right? That I kind of, they'll either present to me or I'll say, hey, what about if we start here? And I really love something authentic. So it's not scripted. It's not like, oh, and what about this? And what about this? And what about this? It's like, let's get to know this person. And I'm always so curious about other people's perspectives, life experiences. So to me, again, it's like if you were sitting at a coffee shop with me, the three of us, right? The guest, me, well, you're there too. So maybe there's four of
in
us.
the corner somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, we're having this amazing chat over the best cup of coffee or tea on the planet. That's what I wanted. I wanted people to feel like they're sitting with me and we're having this beautiful conversation. And again, it just helps them, gives them permission to live their life the way they want to and to get clarity around things that maybe, again, not everybody's talking about. So I'm always very willing to go into my personal life and share things that probably most people would say, what are you doing? Why? I would never share about that.
Yeah.
Yep. And
I
I do.
always tell people who are nervous that I'm never going to ask them something that they don't know the answer to, because that's not
Yes,
why they're here. And also,
exactly.
my job is to make you look good and not stupid. So,
Exactly. And I
well,
always say, hey, if you hated it or you like, because then people feel like, oh my gosh, if I make a mistake or things like that. And it's like, you can't mess it up. So we'll figure it out if something goes a little whatever. And that's one of the things that I feel comfortable about because I have you. So because I have you and I know, I'm like, okay, Richard can help me if we have never really had, I think there was like a UPS driver and a doorbell and a dog thing one time. So we had to get that kind of correct, edited out. Nobody wants to hear that. But other than that, I think just having that, no, I feel really safe and comfortable with you. And then that then leads me to present that energy to my guests. So everybody feels really good. I've never heard anybody say, oh, that was horrible. People just a lot of people do get nervous. So you're right. How do we put people's mind at ease as they're doing something like this?
and especially in the podcast world, like if you are also in charge of making sure the audio and the camera's good, and if you have graphics that you're like, then you
Yes.
can't I'm doing it now. Like, it's very difficult to concentrate on what you're supposed to be concentrating on, because
Yes.
you're supposed to be concentrating on 12 different things. So to
It is
give
the
that
best
away.
money I spend is having you there, it's like, you're right. I get to then focus on what do I want to know about this person, what kind of all of that. And I don't worry about the technology ever at all. And it is the best peace of mind ever.
Would you ever have done your podcast by yourself? Like, was that ever an
Mm,
option of like, oh, I can record it on Zoom and do it myself?
no.
Really?
I knew even because again, I took like 3 iterations until I
Mhm.
got it all out there. And even the first go around, I hired somebody to help me who did help me get clearer, right? Working with this person about what it was that I wanted to do. But I just feel like also I have a lot of ideas, and I know you know this. I need somebody that can not put the blanket on the ideas, but at the same time help kind of like get me in a place where it really also works as like an expression out into the world. And I knew I needed help with that. And I
Mm.
knew from a there were certain things like I don't mind uploading a video to Spotify and stuff like that. Okay, that's good. The notes, I love to write, so the notes, but I knew from a tech standpoint, I was like, I do not want to be editing. I'm sure I could
Mm.
probably teach myself. But that was like a hard no always. I always knew. And I think I even was like, I think you were my first choice always. But then I think at the time you were in a couple other projects. And I was like, I just need to wait for him to be available. Was part of what I think was going on. Maybe not always consciously, but like there was this thing like, no, we are supposed to be doing this together. So
I think that's also a good point for people who are hiring outside, that you have to find people that you connect with and get it, and not just someone who's going to like give you something without your personality and your flair in it, unless it's some boring tutorial video or something. But it's also okay to leave someone who
Yes.
isn't doing the right thing for you
Yes.
and for like they're representing you. So if you don't feel like you're being represented by them,
And
it's
it's
time to
hard.
leave.
It's hard to break up with people. And I think
Hmm.
it's also hard to say, no, this isn't what I wanted, because there's a lot of us, we have so many other things going on. We're like, oh, well, it's good enough.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I think the reason why it took me kind of 3 kind of creative, like, pushes to get this baby out into the world is because I didn't want it just to be good enough. Like, I don't want it just sitting out there. I want people to be I wanna have a body of work, which I do, thanks to you helping me with this, that people can go back to, like, if they're just it being introduced to me and say, "Oh, I'm curious about that particular topic," or "I wanna hear that interview," or that kind of thing. I wanted work that was going to stand the test of time and not
Hmm.
just, again, I do want to get things out, but I also want to create at the heart of the content. I want it to be really good.
Yeah.
And you
I
can't sell
love,
them.
yeah. I love that when I record them with you, produce them, direct them, all the things that I'm doing,
Everything you do.
all
That's
the
why I call you
whatever
my
I'm doing
creative
back there,
director.
drinking coffee with my camera off,
Mhm.
that I'm learning stuff. Like that's what I love about it. Like,
Mm.
I had my show for 6 years and I was in front of the camera and it was my show. And I realized like, I don't need to be in front of the camera. What I love is making you look good in front of the camera and coming up with ideas and seeing the best, how we can best present whatever idea you have. And so it's been really fun
And
to
you're
kind of,
never here's one of the other things I love about working with you is, you would think we've known each other a long time and we've kicked around so many ideas. Sometimes I think people would be like, "Oh, well, working with somebody, there's only so much." It's like, no. Like you're always throwing we're already talking
we're all,
about season 3, which
yeah.
is like we're wrapping up season 2 in the next couple of weeks. And season 3 already we are like, "Ooh, we're going to save this idea for that and we're going to try this and we're going to experiment." Like to me, I love that and that's what keeps me excited
Mhm.
about doing another season. Not that I don't want to, but it's like the fact that we are going to be trying new things and we're going to experiment and that you are very much like right by my side talking it out, we're trying it, and you have your expertise you're bringing, and I just always I'm laughing that I'm like, oh, like there'll be times where like, why did we think about that for season 1?
Yeah,
And it's like, oh, well, that idea wasn't ready yet. So
yeah.
there's plenty of ideas that will come continuously, and I think that again, when you trust the process, that stuff just flows out.
How come, because there are no rules with podcasts, which is the fun part about how long they
Love
have
it.
to be, how many episodes in a season.
Mhm.
You're closing in on the end of this season, and I'm curious why, um, you feel like it's time to take a break. Because some
Okay.
people just keep going and it's exhausting. And so,
Yeah, and they don't honor their own truth about like, "Hey,
mm,
I'm tired and I wanna take a break." So, I'm gonna answer that question with answering how of the first season, because the first season when we recorded and I know you know this, we did like, I don't know, in like 6 weeks, we did a lot of
yeah.
episodes. I think I was recording a couple episodes a week, and then we had all this content, and I loved it. I was like, I felt all the energy, and it was amazing, and then there was like this kind of dead air, awkward silence, whatever you want to call it. And I kept thinking, oh my gosh, I need to like figure out like I kept feeling like then it was like a slog.
Mm,
And I realized, and I said it to you, I was like, oh, it's the end of the season. I was like, and that was, I think I recorded close or around maybe 50 episodes
yeah.
in season 1. Well, there's a little holiday thing too, but like there was a lot of content there. I was judging myself like, "Oh my gosh, blah, 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 blah," whatever I was doing, but once I gave myself permission to be like, "Oh, you can end it anytime you want, and you do need a break. You've kind of come to the end of whatever this creative wave is, and it's okay to be finished." So, learning that in season 1, then I said to you, I know when we started season 2, I said, "I don't know exactly what season 2 will look like, but I'm gonna trust that my energy and your energy is going to lead us to the end." And so a couple weeks ago, I said to you, oh, I'm just feeling right. Like things are starting to wind
Mhm.
down. I had some really amazing guests on season 2 again. And so it just felt like, and nothing was kind of like popping out at me. I was like, okay. And then it was funny. I did a couple what I thought were going to be the last episodes. And then last week in meditation, I mean, this is how I roll. It was like, no, you need to do 2 more episodes. Here's the person you're going to interview, right? And that already is set up for Wednesday of this week. And here's the topic for the last one. So I also very much trust my own process and guide it. Now, again, as you know, season 1 was a little experimenting with that, but that's how I know. There is no like, I have to get to a certain number, or I have to do a certain season. It's just knowing that the thing, right, the podcast, the season is its own entity. You and I have our own energy, and then we create something that has like a third body of energy, and we have to be really like truthful and honoring what it wants. I know that probably sounds a little out there, but I really believe when you do that, it's like writing a book or putting any creative anything out there. It's like, what does the form want most? And it's like, okay, you're going to do 2 more of me, and then we're wrapping it up.
And have you thought about what next season, like, what do you have any ideas what you would like, or any like how it will change, stay the same? Like, what's your vision right now?
You've been nudging me since we started.
I know what you're gonna say. And
to
yes.
coach people, right, in podcast episodes.
Yeah.
And I was not excited about that idea. I think it was like, but I think again, everything in its proper divine order. So getting the podcast out, getting my own comfort with the technology and doing this process needed to come first, so that then I could be like, all right, I'm ready to ask people, hey, do you want to get coached? Right? On a podcast episode, you're going to get amazing coaching, and everybody's going to learn from you. So I think we're definitely going to incorporate that as part of it. And for me, I like to have, like, I like rainbows. I like all the colors. I don't like just one thing. So I'm sure we're going to come up with some other things as well too. We just haven't. I know the coaching piece is part that's coming. And we did talk about maybe doing some live episodes too. So again, I am branching out. I'm doing it because I feel comfortable, because you are leading that with me. I would never, I don't know if I would ever, even though I do Facebook lives all the
Yeah,
time.
you go live all the time. You're so good. And there's like, you have such energy when you're live that I'm like,
Thank
why
you.
are we not doing all of
It's
these
the
live?
technology. I would be really nervous. And to your point, then I'd be worried about, oh my gosh, wait, what's happening? Versus having you with me, it changes it energetically for me in that regard. Because again, if it's a podcast, it's going to be a piece of my body of work. Not that a Facebook Live isn't, but it has a little bit different caliber of energy. And I want to make sure that, again, it stands up even after the live, that people want to go back and listen to it.
Yeah, there's something about just the spontaneity of doing things live, because even if you record it live on Facebook, or like, people kind of, it's the kind of like that behind the scenes look of watching your TV show. You're in the audience of the TV show, and then you go and you can edit it for Spotify and Apple and all that stuff to make it cleaner. But it's so, I mean, yeah, you and I go live all the time, and it's fun.
And I think that, to me, what I love about live is like, you're not seeing some airbrush version of us. What you see is like, we're putting it out there in a very authentic way. And we're not just saying, oh, I'm going to video this, I'm going to have a script. If I say one word off, or my hair is out of place, I don't care. I always say to you, and I always usually say to all my guests too, it's like, we're not doing a ton of editing here.
No.
It's like, I need my intro added on, my thing. If there's a UPS issue with the dogs barking. But other than that, I want people to see like real, true conversation, because that's what real life is about. It's not all this airbrush stuff that social media presents to us, which then people feel that, I think we feel that disconnect. It doesn't feel as true. I like a little messiness in the presentation. It makes it feel more authentic to me.
Because life's messy.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
gonna keep going with it.
Yeah.
Stacey's podcast is Everyday Enchantment, available wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube. You can watch it, all the things.
I have a question for you.
Yeah,
I know, or if we're wrapping, but I have a question for you.
no, go
What
for
do
it.
you love most about working for, like, doing the work you do, and like working on my podcast and stuff? Like,
Mm.
what's your favorite thing?
Seeing how proud of it you are, like
Mm,
that there's something out there that I helped create that I know someone else is proud of.
I love that.
That's what I love. Yeah.
Absolutely. And why podcasts?
Um,
I know you do other things too, but like you do a lot of podcasts. Why podcasts?
I think because I get to learn. I love listening to stories. You're a storyteller, and I feel like I'm a story listener. Like I love learning from other people, and I love hearing other people's stories.
Mm.
And so this is a way that I get to kind of be a fly on the wall and like and be nosy in other people's conversations and hear it. That's what I love about them.
What's one of the most interesting? I won't put you on the spot and say
Uh-huh.
but like, what's one of the most like memorable things? And not from me; it could be from anybody that you've taken away. Like you're like, oh yeah.
Memorable that isn't even anything that I learned, but one of the funniest things that's ever happened was during a live
Mhm.
podcast recording. I was talking to a woman on the Arts for the Health Fit podcast, and my cat crawled up my shirt and sat on my shoulder and then took a nap like on my arm, and I had to do the entire, like there was a dance sequence that I had to get up and like do this dance, and I had to do it with a cat on my shoulder.
Nice.
Yeah,
See, real, you can't make that stuff up. Life
no.
is so interesting. We don't have to like art. I think this is my definition of art. Art is an expression of life, right?
Mhm.
Everything we do, what shirt you put on, which you look amazing, by the way, whatever we're doing, our backdrop, we're all always kind of living is art, right? In its like truest expression. And so to me, it's like you don't need to make it so formal, because actually the unscripted things is where so much, I don't know, where the most memorable things a lot of times happen. So
And I
love
think that's where things are turning, especially with such a celebrity presence on social media that we get to see inside their real lives, which
that.
is also
Yes.
not really real, but that
Yes.
people are craving connection and authenticity
Yeah.
with people, and that's why I love not over editing things, not like encouraging people to be unscripted and to be spontaneous, because
Yeah.
especially if what you're selling is yourself, really, and so people want to know what they're getting themselves into, you know.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that I love just in general is like, I believe you can't mess it up. And I think you embody that. It's like, we're going to do it. We're going to try it. We're going to do it. I'm here. I got you. And I'm not going to make it overcomplicated for you.
Mhm.
We're going to do it in a way that it meets you where you are, which that's why I think you're so good at your work, is you see people's superpower. You know how to help them get their magic out there, but you're going to also keep it like just the formatting in a way that does not overwhelm. Entrepreneurs are already feeling
Mhm.
overwhelmed. We don't need more stress around all of that. And you just do it's seamless, which means I know it's one of your superpowers, because you don't even realize, I think, how well you're doing it, because it's so natural for you. But it absolutely, paying for that peace of mind to be able to know you're going to put something out there so incredible in ways that it's not going to tax you. It's going
Mm.
to make your life easier and way better. It's like, yeah, I'll pay for that any day of the week.
It'll make your day richer.
Exactly.
Stacy
Exactly.
is also my new publicist, Stacy, who's here. Only tell
None
you
of
how
my other
amazing
jobs as assigned.
yes, yes. How can people connect with you?
So you could subscribe to the podcast, which is out on Spotify and Apple and all the places. I also, which I think is kind of fun, we have all the podcast episodes on my YouTube channel, which
Mhm.
I think is just absolutely, like, I like to watch people and their body language, especially seems like with my guests. It's like we have a great kind of physical visual connection. So I say, come on over there. And if you just want to get more, like you want to get closer into my world, I say, come join my free Facebook group, Everyday Enchantment, where again, this whole way of being is the whole gist of that group. And it's just a beautiful place to hang out.
Oh my gosh, one last question that I just thought of. Why a recorded filmed podcast and not just an audio podcast for you?
Wow. Okay, so I am first of all, I'm a visual person. I enjoy watching, like if I'm going to sit down and have a cup of tea sometimes, I want to watch like a little video. I love to see people's faces, their body language. I talk, as you can tell, with my whole body. So to me, the video and the video piece of it, I think we started out originally maybe a couple episodes just doing audio, or maybe we did the video, but we didn't post it. And I remember you pushing me like, all of these should be video. And I was like, he's right. At first I was like, I don't know. And then I was like, nope, he's right. He's totally right. And I love, some people don't like going back and watching, but I always have fun watching. Like, I don't watch all the ones to be me by myself all the time, but I definitely love watching the ones where I get to see the guests, because then I get to see all of their magic as well too. Because when you're in it and you're live, it's a different experience than when you get to watch it back. And I'm like, oh, I love they said that. I love all of that. So to me, the visual just has an energy. Again, audio is wonderful. You're in your car, you get to hear it. You have your life coach on speed dial. That's great. However, I just think it's fun to have that video option as well.
Just don't get obsessed with watching yourself and then critiquing. I know you don't.
I don't.
But
I'm like,
some people will never start something.
You won't do it
because they'll pick themselves apart, and it's like what we're doing right now at my house, where we had painters come in and it wasn't a great job, but it was like a fine job. And so we see all the little spots, but a normal person walking in probably wouldn't.
They wouldn't. But I get that. And so, it's funny because I've had guests on the show that say, oh my gosh, I can't watch because I think I did a terrible job, which nobody has ever done a terrible job.
We wouldn't put it out if they did.
No. But it hasn't even happened. And so, but then they watch it, like, then they'll be like, oh, I got brave and I watched it back, and they're like, oh, it was beautiful. And it's like, exactly, beautiful. And again, beautiful doesn't mean perfect. And I think that is, I'm with you, even like in the analogy about my house, like, I'm like, oh, there's a little dust here. I'm like, you know what? This is what living is like. Living is like, there's always going to be a little something, a nick on like on your favorite piece of furniture or something like that. It means you've been living and using it and enjoying it. So I try my best to work out that mindset approach, because otherwise, you're right, you can get really stifled by that.
Yeah. All right. I told you 30 minutes and we're at 45 minutes.
Did? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I just didn't want to take your no, not you, not the people watching. I would talk to you all day, but I don't want to take all of your day. Yes. So go to staceyandon.com, go to Everyday Enchantment, go to Everyday Enchantment on Facebook. Just Google her and you can find her.
You can go to my website if you want to coach, if you're interested in coaching, that there's all sorts of details there. So how do they get in touch with you, my friend? They want to hire you. They're like, you need him, which I 100% agree with.
This is one of the things. So I build websites for people. And so I'm building my website for me, but it's taking me forever. I need someone to build my website. But Facebook, Instagram.
Okay.
Make your day richer.
Sweetness.
Gmail.
Hire him. Do it. You'll love it. It'll be amazing.
Hire her. Do it. You'll love it. It'll be amazing. Thanks, Stacey.
All right. There we go. Love you, my friend.